Oh boy, back at it again with crazy articles with even crazier ideas. I had to go out there and make a video about this because when I read this piece earlier today on the Hockey Writers, it absolutely threw me for a loop. And I saw a bunch of people in social media talking about this article as well, just talking about the idea, whether or not it actually makes sense, and if we could actually see some sort of a trade go down between the Ottawa Senators and the Buffalo Sabres. Take a look at this post made on thehockeywriters.com on May 20th, 2024 by Ryan Womeldorf. The Buffalo Sabres need to be all in on Brady Tkachuk. Ay. That's where we're going now, isn't it? The Buffalo Sabres needing to be all in targeting the captain of the Ottawa Senators. Now, before we go out there and read what this article has to say, just go over its idea, let's talk about Brady the man himself, because he's actually doing some pretty good things right now. He's one of the most productive players for Team USA at the World Championships. He's got 13 points in 7 games played right now at the time of recording this audio. 7 goals, 6 assists. He is one of the top guys in points, period, only behind Matt Boldy, his teammate on Team USA. And this is all following up a pretty good regular season where Brady had 74 points in 81 games. It's a decline from the 83-point season he had last year, but everybody else on the Sens kind of declined too, so it's not really the worst thing in the world. Brady is still good, and especially as the captain of this team at only 24 years old, still 6'4", 212 left-handed left-wing guy. There's a reason he is an $8.2 million caliber player, and you could even say that his dollar amount might not even suffice the role and the value that he brings to the Ottawa Senators. So with this in mind, knowing that he's that good, knowing that he's that valuable, let's talk about the idea of trading him away, shall we? This article opens up by talking about how the Buffalo Sabres are in a win-now mode like never before, and that is why a major trade must happen, and it should be for Ottawa Senators captain Brady Tkachuk. If that sounds far-fetched, it is. Trading within the division is a cardinal sin, especially for star players. That said, it isn't unheard of, and the Sabres must use all the prospects and picks at their disposal to put the team back in the playoffs. Now, okay, that's the opening idea. It talks about how Buffalo hockey is at a really desperate spot. Prospects, picks, and development, hey, is there even time to wait for that anymore? The Buffalo Sabres haven't made the playoffs since gosh darn 2011. It's been a decade, and after years of going through, okay, great, 2nd overall, Sam Reinhart, amazing, we're gonna be good now. 2nd overall, Jack Eichel, we're gonna be amazing, we're gonna be good now. And then they didn't really get better, and they continued drafting in that area of the draft. They took some duds along the way. Alex Nylander wasn't the best. Casey Middlestad is no longer a Sabre. Granted, Bowen Byram is a very good player. And then you had even more tribulations in the regular season. They ended up drafting 1st overall a bunch. Rasmus Dahlin, Owen Power. They got some extra guys in the midst of that too. Jack Quinn, JJ Peterka, and even more names. But the Sabres kind of have to make the playoffs eventually, right? It's been over a decade. They need to be better. And so, when it comes to this article, it goes out there and talks about how this Buffalo team needs to improve on the power play, they need to improve in terms of being more difficult to play against, and then it concludes this, that there is never a simple solution. With that being said, adding a player like Brady Tkachuk would solve most of these Sabres issues. For starters, he is one of the best power forwards in the game. He plays with a combination of physicality and skill like few others in the NHL. His presence alone would be a massive boost. He could play anywhere in the top 6, contribute on the power play, and play in key situations. His compete level would probably be the best on the team because he never quits and fights through 2nd and 3rd battles. Now, don't tell anybody on the Buffalo Sabres that they'll automatically be second to what Brady Tkachuk is capable of doing, but I don't know if I'd necessarily disagree. He's getting better in the face-off circle, but he's not great. He works to be better as a playmaker, but he also plays a complete game. Most of all, he is a leader, he is the kind of player who commands respect, and Tkachuk could be a difference maker for the Sabres like few others on the roster. He also adds size that the group sorely lacks in the wings, especially in the top 6. Now this is where the article gets kind of nuts, because it talks about the idea of a Tkachuk trade package. And it opens up by saying that any package would start with the 11th overall pick in this year's draft. The Sabres have been open about potentially moving it, so that's not a problem, and given the depth of the prospect pool, foregoing a first-round pick this year isn't a big deal. Speaking of that pool, that is where the Sabres can add the greatest value. They have the top prospect pool in the league. Okay, we just made a video talking about how the Wings apparently have the top prospect pool in the league, according to McKean's Hockey, but they have a bunch of guys, Levi, Kulich, Oslin, Matt Savoy, McCarthy, and others waiting in the wings. But then the article goes out there and concludes this. A package of Jack Quinn, Noah Oslin, Yuri Kulich, and the 11th overall pick would be very hard to turn down. The Sens get an NHL-ready top 6 forward, a pair of prospects who may be ready to be everyday players next season, and a top 15 pick. How many teams can offer that kind of a package? In the end, it probably isn't likely, the article then states. GM Kevin Adams might not be willing to part with that kind of a package for anyone. But now is the time for the Sabres to act. Making the playoffs is the goal, but it shouldn't be the end game. Landing a player like Tkachuk means being a competitor now and for the foreseeable future, and it would be the kind of move that becomes lore in franchise history. Now, the article's comment section is a fun one. And there are a bunch of people going out there and saying, okay, the Ottawa Senators would never do that, like, you're just wishful thinking, that package is or is not enough, the package is too much for the Buffalo Sabres to even think about trading away, like, yeah, the article is getting a lot of flack. And it was posted onto a few Twitter pages and subreddits, and people are going out there and lambasting it even more. And, I mean, look, if you wanted my opinion about it, because I know I always get comments about this kind of stuff, oh, there was this article, what are your thoughts about it? What are your thoughts? Like, no, Brady Tkachuk is not getting traded to the Buffalo Sabres. Interdivisional trades aren't happening like this. And secondly, if the Sabres do go out there and target some sort of a top talented guy, I don't know if just shedding away all of your prospects and picks is the move that Kevin Adams does to get this accomplished. Like, in theory, it would make sense to be like, okay, we gotta make the playoffs, we gotta do this, we gotta do that, shed away everything future-related if we want to go all in. And, I mean, look, it's an interesting idea in theory, but what's the practicality of shedding away all of the prospects that you've accrued over the years just to make a big-name splash of a trade to help you make the playoffs right now with this group of guys? I think at this point it's too brash, it's too much, it's too fast, it's too furious, and yeah, no, I don't see it, you know? I'm making this video just to respond, because the article was published and it was a pretty big deal, but at the end of the day, I think most people who look at it from both sides are going to be pretty pissed off about it. And you know, I will say that is like the one criteria that makes it interesting, because Buffalo Sabres fans are like, no, we're not going to trade away that package, and Ottawa Senators fans are like, no, we're not going to trade away our captain. Because, hey, at the end of the day, I think most trades where both teams' fan bases are pissed off usually end up being the biggest win-wins, but for this one, I don't think we'll actually see the light of day on a Brady Tkachuk to Ottawa move. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. This article will be linked in the description. There's a lot more in it that we didn't end up reading, just some extra thoughts and analyzing what this could mean for both of these parties, but either way, it's going to be in the description if you want to read it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.